So speaking of Bellator, Bellator is now on Showtime. They return April 2nd with a showdown between a Pitbull brother and
Mm,
a
yeah,
well, hold on. I'm not. This isn't an act. I had it ready. Sanchez. Uh.
sure.
Anyway, he's it's the semifinal bout to see who gets to fight AJ McKee in the final.
Oh, I forgot that other tournament was even still going on because it's
It sure
drawn out
is. Now
so
it's
damn
going
long.
on. It's going on, and the winner wins $1 million. So they're doing like a PFL kind of thing,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Now I am excited to see if AJ McKee can beat Pitbull, but I don't know, man. The tournament thing. Now we're gonna get to the other tournament that they announced, and I'm pretty much into it. I'm down.
But this tournament, the one that's going on
Yeah.
right now, my interest level is at 0. And it wasn't very high to begin with, but whatever interest that there was at the beginning it's gone. It's this thing is stretched on way too long.
Well,
And
hold
also
on.
it hasn't
Yeah.
done Bellator any favors over these past like 3 years that they're just jumping all over the place. Like,
Yes, but I have to say that this one is so spread out because of COVID. Like it would have already been taken care of.
that's true, but I also think that it does factor in somewhat that Bellator, the company, seems to be kind of like searching for their identity over the last couple of years. Like for a minute, they were like, okay, we're gonna go with DAZN, right? You're gonna watch Bellator on DAZN. And then they're like, that didn't really work. And they're like, well, we're on Paramount. We're on Paramount, the channel. And like, yeah, no, we're not on Paramount anymore. We're on CBS Sports. And everybody's like, where the hell is CBS Sports at? And they're
I
like,
love
oh, we're gonna be on Thursdays. And everybody's like, what the hell? What Thursdays? And all this has happened within the past 3 years. And now they're like, okay, nope, going back to Fridays, and we're gonna be on Showtime. Um, all this stuff is problematic to me, but I if they can stick with Showtime for a minute, it's for the best. But
Yeah.
I have of the options they've had so far, Showtime is the most appealing, but I have grave concerns for Bellator going forwards with the way that they've been running this organization so far.
You
Uh,
know, I I think that they have a viable thing going. Dude, if PFL can make a return for 2021, um, I think Bellator will be just fine. It's just, yeah, I mean, and we'll look at the light heavyweight tournament, and that's where it's at. Now, Bellator's lighter weight classes really are homegrown, which I think is ultimately good for Bellator as a company. You cannot rely on name talent that's ultimately not as good as they used to be. But that's a hurdle of its own when you have homegrown talent because we'll see with a bunch of people in the light heavyweight division, the light heavyweight tourney has a different sort of legitimacy because they all fought for the UFC.
Almost all of them. It is
Almost all.
almost it
Yeah.
is almost a full yeah. It's something else.
Almost all of them.
Yeah.
So it's like it's this weird balancing act that Bellator has to do because on one hand, that light heavyweight tournament has legitimacy because all of those fighters have fought in the quote unquote premier organization. But it also loses Bellator legitimacy because they were all essentially cut from the premier organization.
Yeah.
Um, or left when it became clear that their path to the title just more or less just wasn't there
Yeah.
anymore. And then in the lighter weight classes, it's the opposite. It is no, they almost none of the lighter weight class fighters have that marquee stamp of approval
They just can't.
Go
I
ahead.
can't. It doesn't get me to tune in when those
Yeah.
guys are fighting for championships. I don't have a thing where I'm like, I gotta watch that. Like they have fighters and fights that like I feel like I need to tune in and watch that. Now they do with this light heavyweight tournament. I feel that. I will actively seek out and watch that from Bellator. But that's the problem. I'm a hardcore fan, and there are other like their card coming up with the I'm not gonna watch that with their featherweight tournament. It's like it doesn't do it for me. They're in a rough spot.
Um, I may, just because I found out that I have Showtime.
There you go.
I found out I have it through
Huh?
the cable I'm forced to have where I
Yeah,
live.
yes. I love that
Uh,
setup. Yeah, I had to
yeah,
deal with that.
yeah. At least it was something cool, like I have to pay for this, so
Right.
I can watch Bellator now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll tune in on April 2nd, and watch the Pitbull brother possibly get a win. I think he will. He's already beaten this guy. Emmanuel Sanchez. I was right. Now, he may, he's already beaten him once, and he probably will again. And I'll definitely tune in for the final because AJ McKee, I think, is really good. And I think we're all just kind of biding our time until he signs with the UFC. But yeah, dude. Well, I think that is an interesting next step for Bellator, and hopefully they do well because I want them to do well because ultimately the competition between the promotions is better for the fighters. They're able to play that free agency, although the UFC doesn't really play free agency. They kind of are just like, well, if you're even interested in going somewhere else, later, loser,
Yeah.
get out. We're not gonna try and woo you. Um,
Yeah.
if you fight out, yeah, if you fight your way out to, yeah, that's a tradition. That's a tried and true UFC tradition. If you fight yourself out of your contract to test your market worth, the UFC, you might as well have gotten cut.
Yep. Yep.
So here is the Bellator MMA light heavyweight world grand prix, and I'll start over on the left. We start April 9th with a rematch between Ryan Bader and Lyoto Machida. That's one I'm very excited for that. Then under that, you have Corey Anderson taking on, I'm not even gonna, Dove Letos on Yagshir Muradov. Uh,
Mm. Yeah.
um, so good. And
Yeah.
then you have Vadim Nemkov, fresh off a stoppage of Ryan Bader, taking on Phil Davis. Um, then under that, you have the fight that pretty much everyone is. I mean, who knows how their viewership will be all the way till October because we have April, then July, then October is the final.
Yeah.
So who knows how their viewership will be? But everyone's tuning in to see Anthony Johnson versus Yoel Romero on April 16th.
Yeah, I think unquestionably of these four initial matchups, including the title fight, the Rumble versus Yoel fight is way bigger than any of the other fights on here. Um, okay, so I see this lineup. The very first thing that I think of is, hey, isn't Ryan Bader still the Bellator heavyweight champion? Yes, he is. And he is now going to fight three times all this year at light heavyweight. So the Bellator heavyweight belt will not be contested and then his last fight was against Nemkov. So
Mm-hmm.
we're looking at like essentially 2 years in time that the Bellator heavyweight belt will not be contested. That in itself is hilarious. But B, there's no contenders. There is no one there to fight for the belt. There's no person that's there being like, yo, I'm ready for my title shot. There's no one there. So sure, fine. Ryan Bader can go fuck off in a whole nother division, 60 pounds lighter, for 2+ years and still just hang on to the belt. Hilarious to me. I love how Bellator, there's no contenders in these divisions. They can just hang on to belts. Next up, the weird thing to me was I found it strange that they booked Nemkov and Phil Davis too, and not Nemkov versus Corey Anderson, because Corey Anderson had just come into Bellator, number 4 in the UFC at the time, already got a win. I thought it was already a lock for him to be set up for the next title shot. And Phil Davis and Nemkov already fought to a split decision. And so I thought that was a little weird, but this is fine. Put him against a guy that we've never heard of ever. Is that guy making his debut in Bellator? Do you know? Has he ever fought in Bellator before?
Who fucking knows, man? Who knows? I have no idea.
He's just a guy. I've never heard of that guy ever.
Listen, Corey Anderson, yeah, if it's Bellator being Bellator, Corey Anderson should have gotten a shot at the light heavyweight belt based off of a first-round stoppage of Melvin Manhoef.
Yeah.
But he didn't. And I like I like what you're thinking, but I think that they were just trying to avoid a Phil Davis rematch against Bader or Machida at all costs.
Dude, you just brought up an excellent point. Look at the number of rematches that are available in this bracket. Phil Davis versus Rumble? Oh, that's a rematch. Phil Davis versus Bader, rematch. Machida, rematch. All these people have already fought each other. Most of them have fought in the UFC. It's crazy. The Ryan Bader and Machida rematch in itself is an odd one because that one was so long ago. And I mean, Bader just got knocked dead for rushing in. I remember watching that at your dad's house many years ago. But now Machida's an old man, and I see this going a very different way.
Who knows, man? Who knows?
I mean, Bader just got knocked out bad, so who knows?
He can still get knocked out. And man, Phil Davis is a guy that,
dude, look at this. Rumble Johnson could beat Yoel and then get a rematch against Phil Davis and then get a rematch against Ryan Bader for the championship. It's crazy. He could be looking at rematches through this whole thing. It's
man, he's looking heavy.
Him and Yoel, it's crazy, man. I want to see what Yoel's going to look like, all juiced up. These guys are going to be juiced, man.
Oh yeah, but I'm saying that when Anthony Johnson took his Bellator pictures, he hasn't even begun his light heavyweight cut. Not even. Look at that face, man. That is heavyweight Johnson right there. Now, yeah, man. I think that for what Bellator could have made, this is pretty good. You're not going to roll out Quentin Jackson for this one because he's a heavyweight now. And he also doesn't. I don't know what he does now, but you're not going to roll out. Do you remember the old Bellator light heavyweight division? You know what's interesting about this? There's only 2 homegrown. I can only assume the man in the bottom left is homegrown because
There's no way. I swear they brought him in because they had an odd number.
I'll have to look him up. I'll have to, but I don't know what I'll find. I have no idea what I'll find. But you notice how none of the Bellator light heavyweights are in this tournament.
No.
None.
Who are the Bellator light heavyweights? Who are they? Yeah. Is anyone else still around?
No, the other guy went to heavyweight. The other guy, because I can't remember his name, unfortunately. Okay. All right. Listen. Okay. No, but this is what sucks, man. Is I like Bellator and I like their product. It's just they do such a horrible job. Communicating who their people are and where they are in the division. Listen, I used to give, and I still do, give the UFC shit for their numbers, right? But what the numbers do is they give you a structure.
This
And
is
also,
this
and
is
also, and
yeah.
also, we did this in an earlier episode. We were like, we want to look at their light heavyweight division. You can't. It's just a page. It's just, I mean, I'm laughing because it sounds so ridiculous, but it's true.
Yeah,
Bellator, when you go to look at their roster, there's not like a top few. They're like, here's the highlights of this division. Here's the highlights. It's just a list of of names and faces, and some don't even have faces. They're just the shadow silhouette with a name underneath. They
yeah,
do a horrible job promoting their people.
yep.
I want to support this product. I will watch April 9th. I'll watch April 2nd for the Pitbull fight. I'm going to watch April 9th and the 16th in July and October. But the problem is I don't know who your people are. I don't know the landscape of your promotion outside of these Grand Prix.
Yeah, and these guys are all people that we know because the UFC taught us who they were.
Because they
We
used to
watched.
have a number by their name.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
listen.